Now, the wife of an SAS soldier who was sentenced to military detention for keeping a gun as a war trophy says she feels betrayed by the army. Sergeant Danny Nightingale has been sentenced to 18 months in military detention in Colchester after a pistol was found in his military accommodation. Illegal ownership of handguns is, of course, a criminal offence, but the weapon, a 9mm Glock, had been given to him by a group of Iraqi soldiers who he helped train in 2007.
Sergeant Danny Nightingale was planning to pass on the pistol, which looks like this one, to his SAS regiment as a trophy. He'd been given it in 2007 by the Iraqi army, but when he returned to Britain in a hurry, colleagues packed it up with his other equipment. A couple of years later, he took part in a charity run in Brazil, but collapsed and suffered brain damage and memory loss. Then 2 years ago, Sergeant Nightingale, now recovered, moved into an army house with a fellow soldier in preparation for being sent to Afghanistan. The Glock, still packed alongside his other kit, went with him. But because of his brain injury, he says he forgot he had it. While the two men were in Afghanistan, his housemate's wife complained to police that she was a victim of domestic violence. She told the officers that her husband kept ammunition. They searched the military accommodation, and that was when they found Sergeant Nightingale's gun.
Well, earlier I spoke to Sally Nightingale and started by asking her whether she had feared that her husband would face some kind of sentence.
I never for one moment thought that Danny would be sentenced. You know, it's using your common sense with the law. He isn't a criminal. The police didn't find him guilty of any criminal act, and it wasn't in Danny's memory until that memory was triggered back in Afghanistan last year. So I feel that the circumstances are fairly mitigating.
How much contact have you had with your husband since he's been incarcerated in the military detention centre?
I've had a couple of phone calls from him.
How is he?
He's doing very well. He's been well treated in there. They're looking after him. He's obviously very proud of the fact that we're all fighting his cause and that we want him freed. He just wants to get home to his family.
And how hard are you and his children finding it? And given that his pay's been stopped, you're really worried about the future?
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me what's most concerning you now.
The children.
What do they know?
The little one can't sleep. They think he's away training, but they weren't expecting Daddy not to come home. The youngest can't sleep at night. She's up having nightmares and she's sleeping in my bed. My oldest daughter keeps complaining of stomach pains and anxiety type pains. They're always asking when Daddy's coming home.
Do you blame the judge or do you blame the army for what's happened?
I think they both have questions to answer. I feel the judge was very unfair on Danny, but I also feel the military could have supported him far better than they did do.
What more would you like the army to do now, and indeed the government?
Certainly see Danny free from jail.
Are you talking to the Defence Secretary or the Prime Minister about this? How far are you prepared to go with this?
Absolutely all the way. He should not be behind bars. My husband is not a criminal.
And do you think there's a sense in which, he's given the best part of his career in service? Is there a sense in which you feel the way he's been treated is somehow sort of symptomatic of how the nation doesn't really appreciate the military sufficiently?
I don't think it's the nation that doesn't appreciate the military. Unfortunately, the nation didn't sentence Danny because Danny wouldn't be where he is now if it was down to the nation. They have completely backed Danny up. People are tweeting, people are on Facebook. These are people who don't even know Danny. They don't know what kind of person he is. So the nation are 100% behind him. Unfortunately, like I say, they're not the ones that were in the seat in the court-martial last Wednesday.
Well, we did ask the MOD for an interview and no one was available to comment.